So did you know that melons or watermelons in fragrances were traditionally used to create an aquatic and sometimes marine touch? So for the longest time, I hated watermelon in fragrances. In fact, I despised it. I couldn't stand it. But with every fragrance, it happens that I end up enjoying it. So today I'm putting together a video of watermelon or melons in general fragrances. The fragrances in this video are mostly watermelon, but you'll notice some that are focusing on just like melons, honeydew, cantaloupes, and things like that. And actually, these are fun and fruity fragrances, perfect for the coming summer months. If you want to find out what they are, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We're talking about watermelon or melons in fragrances. Are you a fan? Do you get the marine aquatic touch that I've been mentioning earlier? They do create that, but not every one of these creates that, although there is that kind of aquatic thing happening with the fragrances. But some of these are really juicy, fruity, and perfect in these fragrances, and they're great to wear when it's warm outside. Let me tell you something though, watermelons are one of my favorite fruits to eat. But as I said, I was very, very challenged with wearing watermelon notes in fragrances. I can tolerate it now. So let's go ahead and get started. But if you have a favorite watermelon fragrance or a melon fragrance in general, put a comment down so I can find out. We're starting the list off with the latest fragrance from Room 1015 called WAVECHILD. This one right here. This is such a fun fragrance, and in fact, now that I've gotten used to wearing watermelons in fragrances, you'll notice a couple of other fragrances that I'm going to highlight that kind of kickstarted my appreciation for watermelon in fragrances. This one takes the watermelon into a candy direction. I don't know, for some strange reason, I think of Hubba Bubba bubblegum, watermelon flavored, and when I was young and growing up, I remember chewing on those gums. But this is watermelons, coconut, ambergris, cacao, amberwood, lemons, mandarin orange, and oranges. So it's very citrusy and very fruity and going into the tropical direction, but there's a very candied, sweet touch about this one. And as I said, reminding me of the Hubba Bubba bubblegum with the watermelon flavor or some kind of very ultra sweet candy that features these kind of watermelon-y notes. It's a really, really fun fragrance. And I think I have another favorite from this house because this is a really, really great creation from a perfumer by the name of Jerome de Marino, who's created one of my favorite fragrances for Un Nuit Nomade called Jardin de Misva. If you didn't catch my video with Mike of Room 1015, please go catch that video. We speak a lot about this fragrance, WAVECHILD, and you'll learn more about it. But this next fragrance is also one of the fragrances that got me really into appreciating watermelon in fragrances. This is JUSBOX's Feel and Chill. The name is really, really appropriate for this one. There's a cooling effect about the fragrance. The previous one doesn't. The previous one was more candy, sweet, playful, fun. This one's got that very cooling effect happening, which I quite like here. It's fig leaves, watermelon, coconut water, bergamot, vetiver, and musk. It's super fresh, really fun, not as like candied like the previous one. This one's more fresh, and the fact that they're using like watermelon juice along with the coconut water that's in here makes for a very watery effect. You know, it's very wet and juicy when you're wearing it, but doesn't get as sweet as the previous one. It just becomes very refreshing, going into a little bit of an aquatic, slight marine thing happening, eventually settling to a musky, woody type of experience. But don't forget the fig leaves in this creates this really interesting green contrast against all the notes that are in here. Really great fragrance, JUSBOX's Feel and Chill. Wonderful offering. But honestly, this is the fragrance that really got me to appreciate watermelon in fragrances. This is the HARMONIST's Guiding Water, this one right here. What a great fragrance this is, utilizing the watermelon note in your face along with watery notes like lotus flower. When you add that note in fragrances, it creates a very watery touch. Then they've thrown in ozonic accord, cyclamen, white musks, aquatic notes, jasmine, lily flower, pink peppercorn. So it's fruity, it's juicy, it's ozonic, it's watery, and for sure floral, watery flowers are in here. And it makes for a really fresh wear. And this is a parfum concentration, as you can see right here. And it makes for a very intense, watery, fruity, fresh floral thing. Really wonderful offering. And I would give this fragrance credit for igniting my passion or appreciation for watermelon in fragrances. But this next one, I did have a bit of a challenging time. I now have appreciated it as well. I do enjoy it. This is from the house of PARLE Mother Parfum. It's Haute Provence 89, this one right here. So this is a south of France kind of an experience. It has loads of lavender, and in the south of France, that's where they grow all the lavender. It's very famous for that. And I think the delicacy of eating melons, and this is not watermelon, this is more like the yellow kind, the cantaloupe, honeydew, and things like that. But there's also watermelon featured, so it's two kinds of melons in here, creating that kind of watery, aquatic, ozonic, marine thing happening along with the overdose of lavender. And there's some Narcissus thrown in as well for this yellow floral touch. It was a bit challenging. It was just too much of the melon, but I think it creates a bit of a cologne-like quality. But now my nose can distinguish the difference between real cologne, real melons. So I've kind of been able to separate them. So I have been able to appreciate melons and watermelons and fragrances. But really, really wonderful. I like the contrast of the aromatic floral lavender touches against all the melons that are in here, along with the yellow floral touches of the Narcissus. This is Haute Provence 89 from the house of PARLE Mother Parfum. This next fragrance is from the house of Parfumeur. This is 202, this one right here. Are you familiar with this house? So this is a very fresh, fruity fragrance with floral notes and woods. It features watermelon, peaches, caramel, red currants, jasmine, sandalwood, lily of the valley, grapefruits, and lemons. This to me is a really, really overly fresh, citrusy, fruity, floral, woody fragrance. It's overdosed with fruits. It's overdosed with citruses. Watermelon is there. You'll really swim in it. It smells just like the watermelon that you might be crunching into. I have to be honest, watermelon, I love it. It has to be crisp, juicy, sweet, my favorite kind. And you kind of get that here. It's crisp, it's fresh, it's ozonic and watery, it's fruity. And again, lots of citruses, lots of flowers, and some woods when it's drying down. I think this will be perfect in the summertime. The caramel note is there to just enhance the sweetness a little bit. It doesn't go into a caramel gourmand direction, by the way. All right, this next fragrance is from the house of KEROSENE. This is Summer of 84. Are you familiar with this one? So this one is a bit challenging for me, but I am featuring it here. There is a experience of cologne in here, so it gives me major marine touches, which it's a bit off-putting for me. But it's lots of citruses once again. We've got grapefruit and lemons, along with melons, freshwater notes, bergamot, white flowers, and musk. When they say freshwater notes, I'm almost thinking that there's fresh seawater notes because you really experience it, the cologne, slight marine fishiness in here. But the melons are there. There's slight fruitiness here. And this is not watermelon. This is just the kind of yellow melons that are like cantaloupes and honeydew and things like that. And then you've got lots of citruses as well. And the white flowers enhances the fragrance to give it a little bit of a floral edge. And of course, it's settling to a bit of musk in the dry down. It's not one of my all-time favorites from KEROSENE. I wanted to highlight it for you guys because you might be into the kind of marine notes. This one, if you're sensitive to cologne, I would use caution. If you don't like fishy smells, there is that in there. So it's a bit off-putting for me. And my nose really is very sensitive to cologne, and I can pick it up really strongly. But moving on to a very indie niche artisanal house called VOSKANIAN Parfums. This is SOIR VERT, this one right here. So this one is a combo of melons and watermelons. And the thing is that very interesting, you've got green notes against it. You really notice the green notes contrasted through the kind of aquatic, ozonic touches of the watermelon and the melons that are in here. Throw in rhubarb, grapefruit, additional fruity notes, lavender, rose, patchouli, amber. It's thick, it's dense, it's very fresh, fruity, green, and also floral. But eventually you'll notice the patchouli and the amber when it's drying down. So there's some earthiness and also, the ambery touches there as well. earthy woods, I would say, but it's all fruits up top with that contrast of the greens. You'll really quite notice it. Really, the greens cuts through the fruitiness of the melons that are in here, the melons and watermelons. So if you haven't tried this, search it out. It's quite unique, especially if you're into watermelony notes. Next fragrance, go into the house of Gallagher Fragrances, another small indie niche artisanal house. This is Sunscape, this one right here. Sunscape, once again, is a very melon-forward fragrance. This time they're using honeydew melons, and the whole experience to me acts a bit candied. A bit like WAVECHILD, but on this side, it's a bit more indie niche take, and the Room 1015 is a bit more mass-appealing niche, if that makes sense. So there's some challenging stuff happening here. Not like you can't wear it, but just a little more interesting and compared to like mass appealing with the Room 1015. So this is honeydew melons, brown sugar, Texas sunshine, they say, but more like solar notes, lime, ginger, frankincense, bergamot, sweet orange, vanilla, violet blossoms, and a lot of other notes that are mentioned here that I can't read to you because it's a lot of different notes. But in the end, as I said, there's a bit of a candy touch. There's lots of woods in here that comes in to kind of contrast through the candy touch. And, you know, sugar, solar notes, citruses, some flowers. And then, of course, the frankincense kind of cuts through and creates a bit of smokiness. Not a lot of smokiness, though, but it's there. You'll notice it. It's more, again, it's a bit more complex compared to WAVECHILD. I get similarities, but easy wear with the WAVECHILD, really fun and playful. With this Gallagher, similar idea, but you know, you're going through an adventure with it, with some detours and stops along the way. So Sunscape from the house of Gallagher Fragrances. You know, I do enjoy Gallagher Fragrances quite a bit. This is not one of my all-time favorite fragrances from that house, but they do have some great fragrances that I speak about quite a bit. This next fragrance is from the house of Royal Crown. It's Nocturna. I believe this is definitely my favorite fragrance from the house of Royal Crown. I absolutely love it, and it's a crowd pleaser. People seem to like this one when I wear it. And it's very unique fragrance in that it has loads of vanilla, ambergris, but most likely it's an ambergris accord along with ambroxan or a similar note, sandalwood, peony, and melons. So it's the melons in here that's creating a bit of an aquatic marine thing against the idea of ambergris. And it's mostly a vanilla and sandalwood fragrance, some floral touches of the peony. What a wonderful wear it is. I absolutely love it. A favorite fragrance from this house. It's super sexy. It's vanillic, but not sugary sweet. Easier to wear. Kind of marine aquatic, you know, fruity. Wonderful stuff. Nocturna is great. I wouldn't call that a super, you know, melon fragrance, but, you know, that does have melon touches, and I think it's basically accentuating the ambergris accord that's in there. All right, next up we're going to the house of Thomas Kosmala, number 4, Sport. This one right here. Are you familiar with Thomas Kosmala? Recently, I did a big blind buy of a bunch of Thomas Kosmala fragrances, and I found some great deals online. This is one of the fragrances. I'm still not sure about this one. It does have melons and C notes and ozonic notes, but it wears more woody to me and a bit molecular, like there's ambroxan in here. According to the notes, there's agave, there's melons, there's C notes, ozonic notes, grapefruit, lemons, bergamot, thankfully. It doesn't get as, marine as Summer of 84 from Kerosene, even though they claim that there's C notes in here. But it's a fun wear. It's not giving me a very fruity vibe. Like the melons are not in your face like WAVECHILD is. WAVECHILD is a melon bomb, a watermelon bomb, and it's really, really great. It's very fun to wear and a perfect, candied, sweet, fruity fragrance to wear this summer. This one is much more mature. It's a bit more, mature is the right word to use. It's not like a fun and playful kid-like, fragrance. It's more like mature and, grown and not like everywhere, kind of just more sophisticated, a little more interesting, but still kind of trying to become something sporty, fun, and playful, but not really getting there kind of a thing. So to me, it's lots of woods in here. And again, as I say, there's a bit of molecular stuff happening in here. So this is number 4, Sport, from the house of Thomas Kosmala. Next, we go into the house of Maison Matine. This is Nature Insolent, this one right here. Look at this bottle. I really love that drawings on these bottles. So this is a very light, easy to wear, fresh, fruity fragrance, utilizing a lot of fruits like melons, There's honey melon, they call it on their website. I think they're referring to honeydew. But there's also orange here, mint, lily of the valley, vetiver, musk, bergamot, lemons, and cedar. So woods, fresh notes, aromatics, citruses, and of course, the honeydew melon. There's a little bit of a contrast of the lily of the valley, which is creating a bit of a green floral edge, and the mint to kind of accentuate the greenness of the lily of the valley with its kind of aromatic touches. But in the end, it's a beautiful concoction just on the light side. So this is going to be perfect in the summertime when it's warm outside. And thankfully, the honeydew melon or honey melon that's in here doesn't get that very marine kind of smelling. But really fun and playful, very light, perfect for summer. It's Nature Insolent from the house of Maison Matine. This next fragrance is from the house of Jazil. It's Wid, this one right here. Honestly, though, this was a very challenging fragrance for me, kind of like Summer of 84. Whereas Summer of 84 is still challenging. Wid, actually, I started to appreciate my, chemistry changes and things like that. It's the melons in here that was acting a bit marine-like, sea-like. But now I've gotten used to it for some strange reason, and I appreciate it. I like its fruitiness. But this has notes of musk, melons, mangoes, oranges, magnolia, rose, cedar, jasmine, and amber. It's really an intense fragrance, but on the light fruity side, fresh side, and it's perfect to wear in the summertime when you want something stronger than normal and you like the idea of fruits, tropical fruits, melons and things like that. They're calling it melons, and this is not watermelon. It's most likely, just like, those yellow cantaloupe-like melons in here. But it's a good fragrance. Not my favorite from the house, but definitely wearable now. So it's Jazil Wid. And then last but not least, we're going to end the list with this fragrance from the house of State of Mind. It's Open Mind, this one right here. Are you guys familiar with this house? The fragrances of this house are all created by Corinne de Bruhl-Sereni, a perfumer who's done a lot of designer fragrances. They're also all focusing on tea, taking a tea note in all of the fragrances and going into various directions, This one goes into an aromatic, woody, slightly marine direction with the notes of hinoki, cypress, melons, gyokuro tea, gaiac wood, lotus flower, lime, marin chrysanthemum. Whatever this note is, I had to look it up. It's some kind of an interesting plant. I haven't gotten my nose on it, but this wears kind of great for me. I really enjoy it. I like the aromatic touches of the hinoki and the cypress. Hinoki is a Japanese cypress. Along with cypress, there's a kind of a green aromatic woodiness about it, contrasted with the melons. And once again, melons in here, I think it's the yellow kind, not the watermelon. But this gyokuro tea, there's a slight coziness about the tea. It's a fresh greenness about the tea. And of course, gaiac wood, lotus flower providing its, watery touches. It's a fun fragrance. Not my favorite from the house, but definitely very wearable. I think it'll be perfect in the summertime. It's fresher when you want some freshness, fruitiness, sea breeze-like qualities. And of course, you've got the green aromatic touches of the hinoki and cypress note. So this is State of Mind, Open Mind. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. And that's the last fragrance for you guys in this watermelon or melon list. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Are you a fan of watermelon and fragrances? Again, this WAVECHILD from Room 1015 is such a great fragrance. I really enjoy it. It's become second or third favorite from this house next to Cherry Punk Extrait. Purple Mantra is a really great favorite of mine, and also now WAVECHILD. I just really love it. I think it's going to be perfect to wear in the summertime. It might be a little too sweet, but I think it's going to be fine in the heat either way. But let me know your thoughts on the fragrances. Is there another watermelon or melon-focused fragrance that I should have featured here? Put a comment down below so I can find out. Stick around for 2 inexpensive bonus options. But other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. All right, we've got 2 bonus options here for you. One, a fragrance from the early 90s created by Calvin Klein for men, simply called Escape for Men. Yes, the fragrance has been watered down, but you can still pick up what it used to be like. You can get the idea. It's melons, mangoes, marine notes, eucalyptus, birch, oak moss, grapefruit, and vetiver. It was a great fragrance at one point. It's very, very light now. You'll notice the melons and mangoes here. Of course, you're going to notice a lot of the marine notes. And some of the aromatics and spices and citrusy touches and woods are also present as well. But it wears very light. I think this would be perfect in the heat, summertime. Very light, it's an eau de toilette, it says. But, you know, eau de toilettes in the early 90s, mid-90s, even all the way through the 90s and onto the 2000s used to be really potent. But this has gotten really watered down. But, you know, like I said, perfect in the summer heat. Escape for Men by Calvin Klein. Last but not least, it's 4711's Aqua Colonia Intense Sunny Seaside of Zanzibar. I recommended this one quite a bit. It's one of their best here. It's a beachy fragrance, and the watermelon note that's in here is on the lighter side. But what's happening here is coconut, frangipani, and vanilla, and the watermelon is giving it that kind of watery, ozonic, marine thing to create the beachy effect with, you know, its water, fruity water touches. It's a great, great release. One of my favorites from this house. I really love it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Mancera's Holidays. It's on the lighter side. It's eau de cologne intense, so it's going to wear light, but you're going to really enjoy its fruity, kind of beachy, warm, vanillic, marine, and fruit touches from the watermelon. So this is 4711 Aqua Colonia Intense Sunny Seaside of Zanzibar, and that's all I have for you today. See you later. Bye-bye.